calm down, calm down. Calm down, calm down.
Thank you. Cunupia. Big crowd here tonight. Big crowd, big crowd. I want to say we're having a fantastic meeting. We just listened to our sister, Vandana Mohit. And I want to say, Chaguanas is in good hands here with Vandana Mohit, my brothers and sisters. Vandana mentioned they have a fellow called the crossover minister. We'll call him from now, the minister, we'll call him the crossover minister. I want to tell him all the people he take any crossover, keep them because we don't want them back in the UNC. Alright? So you see the Rishi Sukai, I'll come to him later tonight. I have something on Rishi Sukai later. But you could keep him. You could keep him. Brothers and sisters, tonight is my pleasure to be in your pavement report in Cunupia and Chaguanas East. Tonight, today, November 30th, we must remember this day, November 30th. Two things happened today. Two things happened in our country today on November 30th. And I will talk about it and elaborate in my speech. Number one, November 30th, 2018, represented today 5 years that this wicked PNM government shut down our refinery in Point-a-Pierre. That's what they did 5 years ago, November 30th, 2018. And I will expand. The second thing, major thing that happened today was that the commission of inquiry into the death of those 4 divers was given to the president today, that report, and I will elaborate later on in my proceedings here tonight. Before I get in, I must say, I know our honorable political leader is locked on and listening. Welcome and good night to our honorable political leader, all my parliamentary colleagues who are present here tonight. I want to give please give a big round of applause to our family, the NTO officials who are here tonight. They saw the importance of coming out to be part of our family in our pavement report in Cunupia, and I thank them for coming out tonight. The pavement report, my brothers and sisters, continue as part of the UNC's continued fight to stand up against the PNM's island-wide destruction. We are a nation that has descended into chaos and lawlessness because those in the government, this present government, has simply abandoned their responsibilities and the people of this nation. Chaos is everywhere. You heard it from all the councillors, you heard it from the mayor, and you heard it from Vandana. Chaos is everywhere in our country. This week we saw arsonists burning vehicles in our licensed head office in Caroni. On Tuesday, a grandmother and autistic child were robbed in a home invasion. Vandana talked about home invasion right here. Week before, the data of thousands of citizens was stolen and hacked. Last week, we saw citizens going to a police station to report a robbery, only to, on the news report, it states the bandits were working in the police station. We face chaos, crisis, and fear because this wicked government simply lacks the ability and care to govern our country. Vandana talked about home invasion. Home invasion is real, my brothers and sisters. It touched me a couple weeks ago. Home invasion is real. And I will just touch a little bit on that home invasion that touched me personally. My uncle and aunt, who are dear to me, their home was invaded 2 weeks ago. The bandits came in at 3 o'clock in the morning. They entered the house at 3 o'clock. They were asleep in a certain part of the house, just my uncle and aunt. My uncle is 86, my aunt is 82. The bedrooms were locked by a gate. The bandits, 4 bandits, waited inside the house until they got up. Until they opened that gate to come out in the kitchen. My aunt was still asleep, and they hit her with a gun on her head. That is the level that we are dealing with in our country. And we must always remember, whenever that election is called, we must say enough is enough and get this wicked government out who cannot do the job out of our country. My brothers and sisters, 5 years ago, 2018, November 30th, Petrotrin, this wicked and callous government, led by Prime Minister Rowley, Stuart Young, Imbert, and at that time they had a fellow who was chairing that company called Wilfred Esmini. They shut down the Petrotrin refinery and sent home over 10,000 people, my brothers and sisters, 5 years ago. And we are still feeling the effects of that closure in our country. We're still feeling the effects. Today, I could not be there, but my brothers and comrades had a memorial session outside Petrotrin. And they are saying, and I hope Archie can see this, they are saying after 5 years with the shutdown of Petrotrin, we still have massive unemployment. Refinery is still closed. And I will tell you how much it costs this government and costs you, the taxpayers, to maintain or to have a company called Demas look at that refinery, that scrap iron, for the last 5 years. High cost of living. The past Petrotrin employees' pension plan is at risk. No medical plan for those individuals who have sweated and earned their living and took that area, the refinery, which is a very hazardous area. They no longer have a medical plan. And high crime rate in our country. That is what we have experienced since the shutdown of Petrotrin. Petrotrin affects not only Pointe-a-Pierre, it affects the fence line communities of Tabaquite, even San Fernando East, which is PNM, and San Fernando West, and as far as Point Lisa to my brothers in Couva North and Couva South, my brothers and sisters. 5 years ago, they shut down the refinery. We have filed a FOIA, and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, where Demas was given the contract to just watch this refinery. Watch the refinery. Don't do anything, just watch it. You know how much it costs? Demas has charged you, the taxpayers, for the last 4 years to watch the refinery, just to watch it. Over $34 million. $34 million. Just to watch the refinery. Don't do anything, just to watch it. And we cannot get the kind of facilities and the diverse family who have died in that pipeline are suffering because they have never gotten a cent, and I'll come to that. So $34 million they paid Demas. That is criminal. And we have the kind of suffering in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, here tonight about that Petrotrin. Prime Minister Rowley, back in 2018, November, when he shut down the refinery, he said, these are his words, that when he shut down the refinery, Petrotrin, history will vindicate him. I want to tell Rowley, history will never vindicate you for shutting down our refinery. They did it to Caroni, they will do it, they did it to Petrotrin. We will never allow them to be vindicated, my brothers and sisters. 2 days ago in the Senate, Senator John was there. The Minister of Energy told us that Paria, which is the company they have set up to purchase fuel for our country, spent over $3 billion to import fuel. When we had the refinery, we didn't used to do that. We had our own energy security. So 2 days ago in the Senate, Senator John and Senator Naked, who is here, they filed a question. So the Minister of Energy comes in the Senate and says the country spent over $3 billion to import fuel. I want to tell Minister of Energy, he got his figure wrong. Because we filed another FOIA. And the true figure from 2018, when that Petrotrin refinery was shut down, to the September 30th, this government spent over $6.3 million importing fuel in our country. So whatever figure Stuart Young gave in the Senate, he was short about 3 billion US dollars. And you wonder right here in Cunupia, our business folks in the Chaguanas borough, why we don't have foreign exchange? Because all our foreign exchange, where we didn't used to have to use, is now being spent to import fuel. Where before, we never had to do that before. So that is why, one of the major reasons why we have a shortage of foreign exchange when we go to the bank. When we travel, all they're giving us is 200 US dollars when you go to the bank. And they tell you come back for $50 and $100. Under the glory days of Kamla Prasad Bisesa between 2010 and 2015, US currency was an abundant when we went in the bank. We never had a problem with our credit cards. We never had issues going and flying out. We never had issues even paying for our kids, our children who are at university abroad. We never had problems getting US if we had to do medical abroad. We never had that. But since this wicked government has come into play, we have shortage of US in our country. So ladies and gentlemen, Petrotrin, today, as I remind you, was the anniversary of 5 years. And just the other day, last week I think, or this week, there were some experts who were asked about the Petrotrin refinery shutdown. And we have a UE economist, Dr. Marlene Atz, and then another well-renowned energy expert in Anthony Paul. And I'll tell you what Anthony Paul said. Anthony Paul said, who's a well-renowned energy expert, not like Stuart Young. Stuart Young is a lawyer, right? So Anthony Paul says, well, we could say liar because when Julie John in the parliament, she can't say liar. She could say untruth. Or when Naked like to say lie, but he had to pull back and he say untruth. Right? Not so, Senator John? So let me tell you what Anthony Paul said about the refinery and the shutdown. Paul said, this is, and I quote in the article, Paul did not believe any objective study was done to clearly say why Petrotrin was closed. As someone, this is Paul, was associated with the company in different ways throughout his career, Anthony Paul, believed the former company, which is Petrotrin, still had value for Trinidad and Tobago. This is an energy expert. My sense is that Petrotrin has valuable assets above and below the ground. On the latter, Paul said at least 900 billion barrels of heavy oil were in Petrotrin. So what Paul is saying, Petrotrin should have never been shut down. It has value for our people and for our country. Paul was saying it's because of the poor management by the PNM, that's why they shut down. And maybe, when our opposition leader had bust a mark a couple of years ago, we talked about fake oil. You all remember that? Now, I don't want to go too much in that because I know they have a couple of lawyers out there listening. All right? So the bottom line, everyone in our country except Rowley, Stuart Young, Imbert, and that whole cabinet felt that Petrotrin should not have been shut down. And we in the opposition, when we go back into power, we will call for a commission of inquiry in why they shut down that Petrotrin refinery. I want to move on to Paria for a bit. Today, as I said, the second major issue that happened in our country today is that Paria, the death of those 4 divers, that report was given to the president. And we are saying from the offstart to the president and to this government, you better come clean and lay that report to the public of Trinidad and Tobago so that we could understand what really happened to those 4 divers. Now, in the front page of today's Guardian, Ms. John told me, she gave this to me tonight. She came all the way from Port of Spain to give me this. And it says, this is the commission, the chairman of the commission of inquiry. No act of God. What he is saying, the death of the 4 divers was not an act of God. So if it was not an act of God, you tell me, what was it? What was it? Right? It was not an act of God. So based on all the findings and inquiry, the commissioner, the chairman, King's Counsel, Jerome Lynch, said the death of those 4 divers, in his opinion, is not an act of God. And that is why this public, our country, the families of those divers need to understand what really happened, why those divers died in that pipe. Because one survived. One survived. And if one survived, all could have survived. That is what we need to know that. We need to know that. We need to know. Now, I think is that Senator Naked? Okay. There's another headline in the papers today based on the same Paria report. The chairman, Jerome Lynch, is saying the diver's family deserves funding, financial assistance. That's what he's saying. Because to date, unless I am wrong, those families, the children of those divers who died in that pipeline, even the one lone survivor, has never gotten any assistance from Paria and this government. That is the kind of wicked government we have running our country. And these are the people, this government, the people, certain people, not anybody here, keep voting and putting these people back. But enough is enough. Enough is enough. So, ladies and gentlemen, 2 major things happened. That Paria report has to be made public as soon as possible so that the divers' families can get closure and be able to get some sort of compensation for the hardship that they are enduring, my brothers and sisters. I want to also thank, based on that report today, I want to thank our honorable leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Because if it was not for her probing and her insistence to have a commission of inquiry set up for those 4 divers, this government and Paria officials would have gotten away scot-free. They would have gone. It was because of the insistence and the pressure put on by the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar and opposition members that is why this government was forced to have a commission inquiry into those divers. So I want to thank her for that. And I'm saying to the government and Paria, do the decent thing and compensate these families and their children right away. Right away. Right away. I want to speak, before I come to an end, one other topic, the dragon gas. The dragon gas, we all know about the dragon gas. And the only good dragon is me. They just call me the Chinese dragon. The only good dragon is me. See that dragon gas in Venezuela? That's a different topic. The dragon gas is, the whole deal is full of untruths, lies, conspiracy, etc. A couple days ago in the Senate, again, my colleagues are here from the Senate, through Senator Wade Mark, he filed a private motion and calling upon to find out for some transparency and accountability in that dragon gas deal. I want to remind you all a couple of things. I know Senator Anna Roberts is doing a press conference tomorrow, so I ask you all to tune in tomorrow morning for his press conference because he has more to say on that whole dragon gas issue. But I'll touch on one thing. I'll tell you how deceitful this government is. Back in 2020, when we were going through COVID, in the height of COVID, the only man could have signed for people to come in this country was Stuart Young, at the time was Minister of National Security. Stuart Young and Rowley, Prime Minister Rowley, didn't allow any of our citizens to come in during at least the first year in COVID. But he allowed a plane with some Venezuelans. On that plane, a Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, and a team from PDVSA, Energy Czars, to come in this country to meet with Stuart Young and Prime Minister Rowley. When they came, and the media asked Rowley, what they here for? He said, well, they come to talk about COVID, and they want to talk about hampers. You hear lie? That is lie. What was revealed in the Senate a couple days ago is from the mouth of Stuart Young. They really came to discuss the Dragon Gas deal with Rowley and Stuart Young back then. So whatever Prime Minister Rowley and Stuart Young want to come and tell you, this government cabinet want to tell, they tell you lies. They tell you lies. It's years after you find out the truth. It's years after, but the pressure that the opposition keeps putting on them, they crack. And then, you know, we have to listen to the people, not you all here, what the opposition doing. What the opposition? The opposition has been doing their job time and time again, and we keep this government in check. We keep this government in check. But we need your help. We need your help, because we cannot do it alone. When that time comes, my brothers and sisters, it's time to show them that finger. It's time to show them that finger. So as I come to an end, I know we listened a lot here tonight, and I want to thank you all for coming out. We had a very powerful and dynamic meeting. I think Shagona East is in great hands with your MP Vandana Mohit. Rishi Sukai could jump high, jump low. I think you have a high-pitched voice. So I'll say more about that another time. All right? I'll say more about that another time. But I want to say to you as I end here tonight, we had a great meeting, and we have one leader, and that leader is the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We have one great party led by one leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. There are no vacancy for leadership in the United National Congress. We have one party, one leader. Stand strong, my brothers and sisters, because whenever that election bell is rung, we will take it. We'll beat them in the east in Shagona East with Vandana Mohit. We'll beat them in the west in Shagonas. We'll beat them in the north, and we'll beat them in the south. We'll beat them, and we'll beat them, and we'll beat them. I thank you, my brothers. Reach home safe, my brothers and sisters. I thank you.
Look how high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Ferraris, come down, come down. Come down, come down. UNC, in town. I don't want to live your own about. I need you to come down, let them in. You're